Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the evening of the 2nd of March, 2019, and now is time for a update on the progress, as my mother would say, of the DCS-Hawkeye project. So here we are. We've embedded it as a module. So there's the L39 wallpaper, there's the low TATC wallpaper, and there's my wallpaper. And if we go here, we have a special menu, and if we go down, see we've got TAC view, that's turned off. Low TATC is turned off, and Hawkeye also has one here, and that's a click to turn it on. So this is the server. And then the server, as long as he is connected to a client, he is looking good. So he's posting. I made a big mistake thinking you actually needed to be the server, but you don't. So that's connecting to our Squadron Play server in the Persian Gulf. The author of that will be very offended by me calling it a play server. It's a very serious server, persistent server in the Persian Gulf. Wave runner, just type 16. And you see DCS is loading. And we get the endless pictures of clouds. And eventually it will load, and apologies for my slow computer, which is still running an i5. So we've done a number of things. Here we are, we're nearly there. And that is load nearly completed. So on simulation dot load dot complete or whatever. Then we shoot the mission variables to the web server, which is basically giving us the time of day and the theater and a few other variables. And at this point, we can get rid of DCS and replace it with the main event. Which is the Hawkeye. And so we're going to click the PPI button, primary plan something, and that will select and move. It's got a switch statement that tells it which theater to go to. So the Persian Gulf is centered on Kasab, and so here we are in Kasab. So what can we do with this now we've got it working? Well, I mean, first we've got to show you the power of Mapbox. So I want to go home, and here's home, and that didn't take very long. And you can hear I'm from the northeast, and now we're back to the Persian Gulf where they speak very differently. So we've got NTDS, Naval Tactical Display System. We've got those designators, because that's what I saw on the real one. Unlike the NATO designators. So here is a friendly aeroplane, here is an unknown aeroplane, here is an unknown ship, and we haven't got any helicopters in the mission. So what are we doing? Well, the first thing is we've got a mouse hover function, which I gather they have in the real one. So as I go on that one, we can see we get course speed and altitude. That's all we know about that dude. And if we click on him, we get a yellow circle, which gives a yellow circle, which gives decimal lat long, which then is translated into degrees, minutes, and seconds, which is then translated into transverse Mercator, which is then translated into MGRS. This is a dynamic mission, so you can see the units are moving every and let's count it 1, 2, 3. Every 3 or 4 seconds we're getting a refresh or a refresh. And here we've got a fella. I think that's a human being. We click on him, we've immediately got his DCS game name, and because we're in a squadron with tags, this can become a pain in the ass. So we are posting him, and we have just changed his name. As you can see on the label, that got posted through. The other thing we can do, which is a new feature, is if we've got the track number here, which is designated by the computer, we've got the JTN, which I think is the joint track number, but nonetheless that's what I'm using to designate. So he's the only human I can see, so I'm going to designate him 1-1. And then I'm going to post, and then immediately we get 1-1 coming out of his the reciprocal of his bearing, or his ass. And so he'll go along, and as long as you're good and you can remember your 1s and your 2s and your 2 1s and your 2 2s, then everything should be copacetic. So you remember that flight 1 is Springfield or Colt or whatever it is, and then Springfield 1, away you go. Okay, so what else have we got? We think this guy's at an Iranian airfield, so he's probably hostile. So you can see we've got a lot of boxes that we're not filling in, a lot of boxes without drop-down lists, but nonetheless we've made him red. And these two fellas here, I gathered earlier on they were navals, so let's make them red, just to show that we can do it. And obviously that's a post to the website, which means that anyone using the product, using the client product, will be able to see that refresh. You see we've got a bullseye here. That's the bullseye read from the mission file, so that's caused us problems, but nonetheless, if we go here and we go there, we'll see he's 225 for 40. And if we do a good, decent job of hooking him, we'll see he's 227 for 41. So he moved, so good enough for government work. So we've got the bullseye implemented, so you can switch just like that. And I made the text everything yellow for bulls, green for bra, so it should be pretty easy to work out what you're spitting out to your squadron mates. Okay, so we can hook this guy, well, not hook, select that guy, and then we can do a bra call. Bearing range and altitude, there's the bearing, 039 for 34 at 0. And obviously the fella's not moving, so not very interesting. One thing to notice though is that does refresh. So he's running right to left from the bandit, so his bearing off is increasing, and hence we can see the 045 goes to 046 and so on. These labels can become a bit irritating, and so we've enabled the system menu with 2 options. The first option is magnetic. Currently everything's done with X, Y, and Z, which means we're getting true, but I've added a little data table that says if you're in theater X, then the magvar is Y. And here it's just lesson 2. So if we click this and look at the 56, 57, and it should go down, and there it is, 55. And similarly, if we pick him up and he's at 252, and so he should be 252 plus 2, so he should immediately go 254, which he did. So that's working. You could also see the other thing we've got is labels. So if we click there, and now no labels. Click here, we have labels. So what else is going on? We've got track numbers. We've got a little range scale here, which I found helpful running this because it means that you just look and you've got a reasonable idea whether somebody is 10 miles away or 50 miles away. And if we go in, it goes to 20, and then you've got a 10-mile tick. So we can just look at that. So we're coming out, we can look at that and say he's about 40-something miles, and amazingly he's 35 miles, so my eyesight is terrible. We've got the, we talked about that. We've got the mission time, we've got the time and date coming from the mission. I'm not happy with that. That's running off the connect time, and I'm not happy with it. We've got here in the track target, we've got the course speed and altitude, and the course as we change, which we just did, to use magnetic, the course will change. So he's doing 342, and amazingly enough he's in a turn, so that'll make it easier. It'll make it harder. So he's at 070, and then we click that and there's 068. You saw it very briefly, but you can see that it works on the bullseye bearings, the bra bearings, and the course of the aeroplanes. And obviously if we move to Nevada, we'll get minus 11 point a lot, so we'll get minus 12. And if we go to Normandy in World War II, we'll get about 0. So if you want to fly your Spitfires and use this, you will not get magnetics, because that's because the Hawkeye was not around in 1939 to 1945. Obviously, there are a lot of features that need adding. First amongst them is the ability to designate points. We've got limited map data coming through. I was hoping we'd be able to capture an airport. There's something going on here. But if we go to Kasab, here's an airport. That's what an airport looks like. So it's pretty big and obvious. And if we go to Kasab, there's Kasab. And if we could read Persian, it might actually say Kasab, but of course we can't read Persian, or at least I can't. A lot of people probably could. And we were messing around down here, and this is Bandar, whatever. And there's an airport, and there's an aircraft on the airport, and he is sitting there doing precisely 0 knots, and his altitude is 81, a little above sea level. So anyway, there we are. That's as far as I've got. Gonna go away and add a right-click menu so you can designate points and get a lat-long pointer. I'm not sure I want to load the mission waypoints because that might get a bit cluttered. I probably want to add more layers to the map that you can turn on and off here, towns and stuff, maybe a bit of contours, I can't remember the word, but what's high, what's low, so on and so forth. Okay, well that I think is a fairly mediocre update on where I've got to as of the 2nd of March 2019. Many thanks for watching, and look forward to your comments below, and any features you might think I would add, that would be great. And particularly anyone who has any experience in the back of one of these planes, if you could contact me, that would be amazing, because the public domain is pretty much limited to this screen, and obviously I don't know info, tracks, mission and windows. I don't know what those should be doing, and I don't know what most of the left buttons should be doing. So anyway, anyone could help me with that, I would be very grateful. And other than that, this is Matthew Rogers, aka Durham, over and out.